Hey YouTube, it's Numistaka here, and I wanted to make this video today about sovereigns because the sovereign is the standard, reliable, ubiquitous bit of British bullion with an amazing history going back hundreds of years. And sovereigns make an ideal collection subject as well. Clearly, to start with, the sovereign is something which is the totally standard bullion coin of the UK. It's a nice manageable size, a little bit under 1/4 of an ounce of fine gold. It has very high availability. It has very low margins to spot if you buy it as a commodity item, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. And it has a lot of interest in terms of series collectors, type collectors, mint collectors. Like American pre-33 coins, there's a whole variety of mints. London, Canada, India, Melbourne, Sydney, and it's quite possible to make pretty spectacular collections just by focusing on one of those mints or using one of each of the mints as a type collection. There are a lot of very common sovereigns which are easy to pick up and cheap relatively, and there's also some incredible rarities like the 1841 sovereign. There weren't very many minted, very few have survived, very expensive. The 1911 proofs, the 1937 proofs, some of the Victorian sovereigns. There's a lot of different aspects of sovereign collecting to keep people amused and satisfied as a collection topic. Anyway, what I wanted to do was to just talk about some of those different specializations, and I haven't specialized in all of them, so there are some I can't give real examples of, but I just wanted to go through a few. So the first one that we're going to talk about is the artwork of a sovereign, the designs that are available. And there have been a number of designs going back over time, and it's quite straightforward to build up a collection of one of each of the different designs. And so you've got things like, let's start by taking a look at this one. I don't have a sovereign, but I've got a double sovereign with this design on. So this is the 1989 500th anniversary design, acknowledged to be one of the most spectacular sovereign designs there's been so far. The double sovereign and the single sovereign are pretty much the same price actually, even though the double sovereign has got twice as much gold in it, because most people try and collect the full sovereigns and there's only fewer collectors of the double sovereigns. But so you've got the 1989 special, then you've got the 2002 Golden Jubilee Shield, and the Golden Jubilee Shield was like a modern take on, let's try and find, there we go. So this one is an 1871 shield. So if you look, the one on the right is like a modern, let's turn it the right way even. It's like a modern interpretation of the older shield back. So that one is an interesting one to go after, another one of the special designs. Here's another example of that. Some of the proof sovereigns I have that I don't have graded yet. I might very well have them graded in the future, but at the moment I keep some of them as raw coins. Then you have the 2005 one, and here's a couple of examples of that. You can see the proof version of the 2005 at the top, and then you've got the bullion version, which doesn't have the frosting or the special strike at the bottom. And again, that's another one that is certainly coming up. These have increased in value quite a lot over the last couple of years because more and more people are collecting sovereigns, and more people are starting to collect first the special design sovereigns. So that's another good one to look out for. What other examples are there? Yeah, the latest one is the 2017 sovereign, which is the special design which celebrates the 200th anniversary of the original Pistrucci sovereign from 1817, and those completely sold out at the mint. It's amazing how infrequently they even come up for sale at the moment. I think people have bought them to keep for a long time, and they're worth looking out for. You will have to pay a premium for one of these, but it's one of the nicest special designs for a long while. Okay, so that covers the special design ones. So let's cover more standard sovereigns and take a look at, for example, I mean, quite often I've had them graded, but I think that a lot of people who collect bullion type sovereigns would never have them graded. This was just my personal choice. But pretty much all of the Queen Elizabeth head sovereigns are affordable. Unless they're in very, very good condition, and by good condition we're talking about really MS63, MS64 and above, they're really just standard bullion. These early ones have started to creep up in price in auctions. I've noticed they used to be pretty much on a par with some of the more recent ones, but I think people are now hunting down the 1950s sovereigns, especially, and to keep the best of those for the future. I really like them. I like this design, but you can pick one of these up if you look around at pretty much bullion price. Some of the others, each year there are standard bullion sovereigns. This one is a standard bullion sovereign from 2004. I graded it, I think, because at the time 2004 was one of the lowest mintage years for bullion, so I wanted to keep it in good condition, because bullion sovereigns tend not to grade anywhere close to the proofs in quality. So an MS68 for a 2004 bullion sovereign is actually very high. Then, oh well, that's not a standard bullion sovereign. Let's have a look at some of the others. Yeah, here's an example of the kind of mid-reign kind of head. You've got the young head. This was the one in the 70s and 80s. And again, I found one of these. It was in reasonable condition, and I thought I'd pick it up and have it graded. But you know, if you use dealers in the UK like Hatton Garden Metals and Atkinson's, then you know, and Baird, there's quite a few people who specialise in sovereigns, and in fact in the States Atmex have a lot of sovereigns they sell, and they are certainly worthwhile looking for sovereigns at. I've actually bought off Atmex as well in the States sometimes. So they're easy to find. Generally it's better to buy these type of sovereigns from the dealers and not from eBay, or not from auction houses, because you tend to find that the coins themselves can have maybe a 2 to 10% premium, but at auction you've got a 17.5% buyer's premium, and eBay you've got eBay costs. So you'll find the best price for bullion sovereigns is always from a specialist dealer, as opposed to the more numismatic kind of supply sources. Okay, so let's take a look at some of the more specialist things. You know, when do you pay a little bit more money for a sovereign, and is it worth paying that kind of money? Well, generally, if we go to things like this shieldback sovereigns. So there's two types of sovereigns that command a premium here. One of them is a shieldback. Anything which has a shieldback is around about 15 to 25% at least more than a sovereign without a shieldback with the regular St. George backing. So you'll always find, even from bullion dealers, shieldbacks have a premium. A lot of the time they're out of stock of them because they go very quickly, they're the first to be chosen, they're in very high demand, and I found that if you ever put a shieldback up in auction on eBay, you have huge amounts of interest and 40, 50, 60 bids on it. I think everybody wants these more collectors oriented sovereigns. Then you've got this kind of thing, and these command a reasonably high price as well, where you've got almost like overstrikes. So this one's an 1880 where one of the 8s is overstruck over a 7 in the date. This one isn't a shieldback, but it's still worth a little bit of a premium because of the overstrike. Some other examples where you might want to specialise a little bit, maybe Australian sovereigns or something like that. Let's have a look. Let's have a look at these kind of things. So this one is a premium coin. It's worth quite a lot more than a regular shieldback, and a lot of people collect these Melbourne sovereigns. So I think Melbourne seems to have more of a collector's backing than Sydney even. So I try and go for Melbourne sovereigns, and Melbourne Shield sovereigns in particular I pick up. I really like them. This particular one is a beautiful coin which I had graded as a 61. 1884 Melbourne sovereign. That one's an English one. Another 1884. I think both of my sovereigns for Melbourne 1884 are set 58s. But you know, it's worth gradually looking out for these premium sovereigns, providing you're not paying a monstrous premium. It's worth buying the best you can possibly afford if you're not buying bullion. So if you're buying bullion, you want to buy them as cheap as you can, as cheap as possible. But if you're buying a collector's coin, collectors are going for quality, and it's very important. It's much better, I think, to spend a little bit more money on sovereigns and buy a better coin. So, you know, at the £275 range, say, about $325, $330, you'll find a basic shieldback. Pay 30, 40, 50, 60 pounds more than that, and you'll start to pick up one where, you know, you're seeing all the beauty of the coin, like this one, where there's very little wear on the hair. You know, it's fairly clean on the background. You know, just a much nicer coin to own and have in a collection. So I'd certainly recommend you hunt out the better coins when it comes to the collector's sovereigns. Let's take a look at another type of sovereign, which is kind of in the middle, mid-year sovereigns. And let's take a look at a few of those. Okay, so traditionally the two kings, Edward VII and George V, have been seen as pure bullion, and at the moment in many places they're still seen as pure bullion. However, I have noticed that the Edward VII coins in good condition are now commanding a small premium over the George V coins, and I think that as time goes by and we change monarch, and you know, maybe looking over the next 15-20 year time horizon, I think that these king sovereigns in good condition are going to show quite a good increase in value. So don't hold me to it. Don't replay this to me in 10 years time and say, well, no, they didn't really show good value. But I think that these are worth hunting out, and there are some interesting coins. It might be worth hunting out some of the Australian ones, for example, the Perth sovereigns. Some of the dates in those are quite low mintages, and they can go for pretty good sums of money. So always look to see what the mint mark is. before you actually then place a value on a sovereign or put it up for sale if you're selling it. The devil is in the detail in sovereigns for sure. So let's put those to one side. And the last kind of things that two more things in fact that I want to go over. Indian sovereigns. So let's take a look at those. And so in 1818, sovereigns were produced in India for just 1 year. So there is an I mint mark on sovereigns in 1918. And in 2013, the Royal Mint got together with the PAMP company in India to mint sovereigns again with the I mint mark under license. 2013 it started, 2014, 2015, there is a 2016, there might even be a 2017, but they seem to have disappeared from the market in the UK. Maybe they're available in Dubai Airport and a few other locations. If you get a chance to pick up one or two of these India sovereigns, I think that go forward 15, 20 years, it's quite probable